I feel like every time I check Facebook these days, there's someone taking a selfie with a 2x4 talking about how it's $1 more expensive than it was last week.
A job that used to be 100,000 for an easy number 2 years ago is now about 130. And that's just a small scale things for a new build. If you guys are looking into new constructions, the average price went up $30,000 to $40,000 just in lumber costs.
Wow.
And that's, the last over a year. It's, you figured we're coming out of, COVID slowly but surely here, but, there should have been some stabilization, but no. If you are doing some renovations this summer, it is a great idea to get what you can get now because there's no guarantees they're going to be there. There was an MDF fire, factory fire. We have oil prices that are causing insulation problems and roofing shingles. Right now, in the southern states, they cannot buy shingles.
What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and we're back with John from BlackJack Contracting. Hey, John, how's it going?
Good, bro. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm excited to jump into today's video and explore this. This is a hot subject matter. I feel like every time I check Facebook these days, there's someone taking a selfie with a 2x4 talking about how it's $1 more expensive than it was last week. So let's talk about, price expectations, the cost of renovations, and whether we can expect some stabilization or return to normalcy. And maybe before we even talk about the future, let's talk about where we are kind of right now. So we're shooting this video at the start of June 2021. And what's going on in the world of cost and pricing from your perspective, John?
Yeah, no problem. It is at an all-time high, and we keep getting updates that it's going to keep going up for the next while. So, everybody knows what the price of a 2x4. Yesterday, it was $10.55, which is just almost painful. At the beginning of the pandemic, it was $2.92. So, just on a small scale for a basement suite, the price of prices has gone from $4,000, to frame a basement, almost $10,000 to frame a basement. And that's just one small step to the whole pie. We've seen regularities in certain things, but a few key items have driven the price up so high. And because of, supply chain issues and because of, what do they call that? On-time. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out the word.
Just-in-time inventory.
Just in time, and thing is the reason why we are having problems because there's no warehousing for half the stuff that we use. I was watching a great thing on that on YouTube the other day, but so for what we're being told, it's not getting any better anytime soon. So just on the short term, what we're doing now, a job that used to be 100,000 for an easy number 2 years ago is now about 130. And that's just a small scale things for a new build. If you guys are looking into new constructions, the average price went up $30,000 to $40,000 just in lumber costs.
Wow.
And that's, the last over a year. It's, you figured we're coming out of, COVID slowly but surely here, but, there should have been some stabilization, but no. For what I'm being told, we're looking at least Q2 of 2022 before you see stabilization.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. And I guess kind of chatting through that for the investors, is there anything we should be doing here to kind of be proactive or protect ourselves? I imagine, trying to get quotes in writing, trying to get like expiration dates or like how long it's eligible for or valid for.
Yeah, you want to check how long the quote's valid for. Like as I saw in one of our previous videos, no more than 15 days. Contractors are going back to the owners to go after changes. You got to be really careful there. Stocking things are kind of a scary thing because, the price could drop. It's like, I guess it's like an investment, right? The prices could drop, but you'll get them. So like literally an hour ago, we were unloading 12,000 linear feet of trim into our shop to make sure that we had enough to keep us through the summer at a relatively stable price. And that's what we're. Now, obviously, we can do that. We're a little bit different, but it's stuff like that. If you are doing some renovations this summer, it is a great idea to get what you can get now because there's no guarantees they're going to be there. There was an MDF fire, factory fire. We have oil prices that are causing insulation problems and roofing shingles. Right now, in the southern states, they cannot buy shingles.
Interesting.
You can literally not get shingles in Louisiana right now. I have some friends down there. So people are sending things down from the north and paying the trucking charges. So that's usually a good sign that things aren't going to be great for the next 6 months. some of the prices might drive the deals out of being feasible, or you need to scale back the renovations for now. Some people are just going with it. I mean, unfortunately, like in Hamilton market, the ARVs have gone up with the prices.
Yeah.
We just saw a bungalow duplex conversion sell for $907,000 yesterday. So the ARVs have kept up with the cost of renovations. It's okay, but some other place it's not.
And so in, I guess, some of those markets or some of those profile properties where maybe the appreciation hasn't kept up with the increase in cost, are there certain areas where you see like investors naturally try and like reduce costs? Like, is it, I'll get a less fancy countertop or less expensive appliances, or what sort of things do you see them often, I guess, compromise on?
Yeah, you're starting to see renovations scale back on the scope of work. Let's use a basement suite. The basements are always going to be almost brand new, but the upstairs, you used to do a nice facelift. So now you're kind of like, okay, we'll leave the cabinets. We'll just do a little reface, all that stuff. So people are trying to be wary and scale back certain renovations. And it depends on the market too, where you are. But that's what we're seeing. People are scaling back a little bit. People are considering alternative methods like steel stud. Now, for my world, that kind of messes things up. But there is people doing stuff like that. I even considered doing 24-inch center spacing on 2x4s instead of 16, which is legal. It's going to save the customer $500-$600 on a job right now, maybe a little bit more, but the quality and the integrity of someone not going through the wall is just not worth it to me. But I'm seeing people do it, right? So it's just anything people can do right now. But it's trying times. But to me, I obviously in the position I'm more worried about availability than I am price. But so, I can go and buy 5,000, feet of baseboard at a discount so that I can have it, but you got to invest the money, right? So
I guess any recommendations for investors when they're maybe talking to a contractor to make sure that that contractor is factoring in potential cost increase, or I guess to kind of give them comfort, any suggestions on types of questions or an approach that individuals should take in that regards? Or do you just count on the fact that as long as it's written down that I can hold him to it?
I wouldn't count on it. It should be that way, but I mean, I know reputable contractors going back to people right now, so I would almost insist that it's written down. Okay, so I signed this contract now, give you a deposit. 2 months from now, 2x4s go to $15 a piece. Will I be honored to price? Right now, that should stumble the guy right there. Right. And if he's not committing to that, okay, that's something you need to factor in. If it's written down, no, the price is guaranteed, this is the price, then, you should be in great shape. As in our previous video, it's, everything documentation right now, I think is going to be important for an investor to protect themselves. And I guess also, we've also mentioned in the previous past is having that backdoor fund, that contingency fund that, that contractor doesn't need to know about, and that way, if it doesn't make sense at that number, don't do it.
Really appreciate that. And let's maybe just chat about so we've talked about some of the price increases, and again, it depends upon the type of product in regards to what sorts of inflation it's seen. As far as like timelines and things being on back order or harder to get a hold of, do you mind just giving us a snapshot of some of those things and what you'd recommend? So I've heard people saying with like my apartments, we buy a lot of appliances, and now we're having to kind of order a few more weeks in advance in order to have the same timelines. What are you seeing?
So, I mean, appliance is a great one. I would, if I had if I closed on a house, I'd order the appliances that day. That's how long we're seeing some of the appliances order go. So, I have two accounts between the Brick and Leon's, which are owned by the same bloody company. But one will have stock, one I'll place an order, one all of a sudden 2 months later I won't be able to get it, so I have to go to the other, seeing Costco. But walking in and getting a stove right now, especially like an apartment grade stove, good luck. So it's something that, like appliances, anything major, I'll order immediately. Worst comes to worst, store it off site, but it's better to do that now. Things that are a challenge to get right now, IKEA, because of the whole thing, and that's quite popular with investors, is something that's taking a lot longer. Some of the certain products they have you can't get. So we've actually had to, grab a couple Home Depot boxes to retrofit and fit the doors on to get our job done.
Yeah.
So, kitchens we're trying to order way earlier than we used to. You still have to wait till the drywall goes on so that you can measure it properly. But as soon as it's done, you got to get it ordered. Countertops, like if you're going to get custom countertops, are taking a little bit longer. Certain fancy features like vanities, you're kind of limited to what you're going to get. What else? Drywall is on a shortage right now. You can get it, but it's something that I wouldn't expect to get a large order the next day. Insulation, we did see a shortage. I think it's back online again to the point where we almost couldn't get it, certain products. And 2x4s are fully available. Like, to be honest with you,
they're just expensive.
They're just expensive. It's a little bit of a farce in my opinion. There is a couple good explanations, but there's also a couple really bad ones. So yeah, there is certain products they're all available. It's just something that you can't go to the next store for. Like for us, it's a giant pain because right now we can't walk to Home Depot and get what we need. So if we miss something for that day, we're kind of in trouble. So we've had to preach to our own staff over and over and over again. If you need something, you got to tell us a couple of days in advance.
Yeah.
Right? I have a full-time material order in my office, and he's having a hell of a job right now. I wouldn't trade him, that's for sure. But it's something. Now, hopefully, we're sitting here at the beginning of June. The official, stay-at-home order ended. They're supposed to open retail, but it's only going to be at limited capacity again. So it's something, again, for the next couple of months, it's something that takes a lot of foresight. So if you're self-managing a project, you got to sit down and really go through your schedule. And, okay, I need this. I'm going to have to order it then and then execute. So, yeah, everything, I think we've preached this, a lot of these videos, everything's just longer thing. You got to be really organized and pre-order whatever you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's important to be planned and organized in these regards. So it's more important than ever to have that detailed scope of work, which we talked about in a recent video, as well as having very clear expectations on who's covering any sort of cost increases or, anything specific to just general inflation, which we're seeing a lot of these days. And I think that also just kind of circles back to a general theme that we regularly talk about here, John, which is being able to actually trust and verify that you've got the right contractor on your power team, right? Because I think this is the time where a lot of those people that are kind of fly by night, they're not going to be organized. They're not going to be planned. They're not going to be able to absorb any sort of cost increase. And so they're either going to try and directly pass it along to you, or they're going to try and cut corners. And either way, it's going to end up with you as the investor not satisfied with the final product you got. And I think one thing that people often overlook is a job half done or poorly done usually has to be almost completely redone. So it's not like, we cut some corners and I saved 25%, but it wasn't done right. So now I'll pay the other 25% and get it looking 100% nice. It's like, no, oftentimes you're actually going to have to go back to the drawing board and rip out a lot of the subpar work.
Yeah, and the point you made about the fly-by-nighters, they're having a heyday right now, right? Because when people get desperate, they go with it. So, and that's where the paperwork's going to go down the window. So, again, you got to be really careful because they don't have the cash to absorb cost increases. They don't. And I talked about this on the video, how contractors don't charge enough money, and that's all I know, very deep to the story. But when the consequences of that is that if he priced it for $5 and it's $7, he literally doesn't have the money to cover that. So that that's coming back to you. So careful.
Yeah. More important than ever, because again, we're dealing with larger dollar amounts than ever before. As real estate increases, all the input costs increase, the after repair values are increasing as well. So it's just more important than ever to really be running your numbers as an investor. Make sure you've got the right people on your team. And speaking of that, you've been expanding. So you're now in a bunch of other markets, or you're moving into other markets. So do you mind just recapping for us, John, where people can find BlackJack?
Yeah, so we're based out of Hamilton. We serve Hamilton, Brantford, all of Niagara. We're all the way up the 401 to London and St. Thomas. We're starting out in Peterborough, Belleville, Sudbury.
Awesome.
I keep promising everybody that I'm going to get to Windsor, but I keep getting dragged out east. So I'll get there, I promise.
Yeah, well, again, I know that there's lots of investors in all the markets you just mentioned, including, I imagine those ones on the east side of Toronto are very happy you're moving that way as well. So
Yeah, I've actually had quite a bit of conversations and quite a bit of things. I mean, we already got a few starting, so, and to tell you the truth, a nice spot. And so, get lots of requests for Toronto. I just want nothing to do with it. It's just, I don't want to deal with the headaches of it. But no, everything's going fantastic. Our team has tripled in the last year again, so I mean that's great. We're just trying to keep up with the ride.
Yeah, love seeing you grow. Love all and really appreciate all the value you provide on the YouTube channel as well, John. So as always, for the viewers at home, we've got a link to John's contact information and everything related to BlackJack Contracting in the video description down below. Really do encourage you guys to reach out because, again, I just think there's going to be so many people that are going to end up going the cheap route and end up having to pay more than almost double by the time you tear it out, redo it, the time lost, the revenue lost. It's very important you're running your numbers and you've got the right people on your power team. So again,
Absolutely.
appreciate you sharing your experience and wisdom here, John.
No problem. You have a good one, sir.
What is up, YouTube? Sorry to interrupt, but before you guys wrap up this video, I've got a quick announcement. We put together a survey where I'd love to get your input on your perspective on what other content should we shoot on this YouTube channel. I've literally made thousands of videos, talked for thousands of hours now about YouTube, and I'm just not always sure what to talk about next. Sometimes it feels like I'm just beating a dead horse, but I'd love to hear from you guys. What subjects should we go reapproach? What videos should we remake? What subjects have we just completely ignored that, like, duh, we need to go make a video about that? Let us know, not in the comment section, but through this survey, and there'll be a link in the video description down below. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next video.